Ta-da! And it's gone. When I first fell into the VTuber rabbit hole, out of a world full of political hostility, ruining entertainment, VTubing was so pleasant and easy to enjoy. The idols treated their fans so nice, and there was none of that pesky drama. For those naive days. This is not a deep dive into the VShojo disaster, but a shallow dip, with our eyes on the bright future. Instead, let's talk about VTubing in general, because it looks poised to go through basically the same transformation the games industry is, and if you're a fan of VTubers, don't be worried. The shift from massive corporate strangleholds to a landscape of small, more tight-knit groups and indies, that may seem scary, but it is going to improve VTubing for everyone, fans and talents alike. Yes, things look a bit dark, but this is a hopeful video because here, we look on the bright side of absolute misery. So what is a VTuber? At this point, it's more medium than genre. Rather than showing your face, which has some real-world dangers, you have an animated model, usually an anime girl, that can respond to face and body movements you make to replicate them. Before it became mainstream during the years when we all got locked up for the crime of breathing, this was almost universally an extension of Japanese idol culture, and followed many of the strict rules of the culture that churns out talented singers and dancers before discarding them. If you are unfamiliar, think the Disney Mickey Mouse Club or the Nickelodeon TV child actors, both the good and the bad. Thankfully, where we are now, even the biggest VTuber corporations are less idle and more individualistic. The big three, Hololive, Nijisanji, and VShojo, may have started out hoping to make some idols, but now are jack-of-all-trades idols, often called variety streamers who might sing, dance, play games, do a lot of yapping. Most of all, they became the biggest comedian clubs in the world at a time when comedy is illegal in most Western countries. The comedy part is a big thing. Instead of stifling, rules-heavy, idol-centric abuse factories, unhinged humor and over-the-top personalities made what was meant to be pure, refined, dainty idols into possibly the most out-of-control, wild behavior in content creation space, outside of course the political and nuisance streamer categories. We had an idol threatening to kill her fellow talents with a knife in a yandere rage. All for jokes, of course. Well, maybe. We had another with a morning show that started with the phrase, "Good morning, motherfuckers." Point being, before it even became a big thing in the West, VTubers being the idols meet Vocaloids was already starting to look a bit sketch, in a good way. And the big three were looking quite strong through the lockdowns, about as clean and friendly as you can expect from a major corporation, with relatively few controversies and drama. That all changed at the start of last year when Nijisanji, who will from now on be called Kurosanji, saw a lot of behind-the-scenes information come out. And it was bad, and not in a good way. We're talking sheltering multiple sex pests, rewarding open bigotry, extremely unfair management including pitting talents against each other for opportunities, and sending huge sponsorships to a handful of management-picked talents. While shunning others completely regardless of performance, we're talking deceiving and denying payments, making up petty reasons to fine and withhold from talents, and all culminating in a miserable, toxic work environment that was so horrific not one, but multiple idols made attempts. After which the corporation, and the shadow management talents behind the ultra-toxic workplace, would publicly shame and drop personal information on the ones who made the attempts. If that sounds shocking, again, keep in mind these companies had relatively stellar reputations, and in a blink, Kurosanji went from dream job to ya absolute nightmare. Now, it didn't nosedive, but it has been limping ever since. Kurosanji for the last year and a half has only reinforced everything negative about it, proving the accusations not only right, but often making it clear things are even worse than we thought. Yet it has been kept afloat mainly by a clique of mean girls and abusers. However, from this atrocity came a bit of a silver lining. Many of the idols who left, like Sayu, Mint, and Doki Bird, ended up finding huge success as indies. And in Mint's case, she was very close to joining a different, better company, one that would never betray their talents. VShojo. Let's go back one more year to 2023. This was a pivotal year in entertainment. We saw most of the lockdowns start to lift. We saw film and TV decide rather than getting back to work and trying to save themselves, it was time for strikes to ensure their own destruction. And so the boom in content creation got to carry on. And at the start of the year, we saw one of the most divisive games of all time come out. A game that ended up massively snubbed at the Game Awards due to activist pressure, a game that the activists did not want to exist at all, and they were intent on proving they were the tolerant ones on the right side of history, by threatening the jobs and lives of anyone who worked on the game, or, as is relevant to this tale, even thought about playing the game. Hogwarts Legacy. Now, what does perhaps the best representation of the wizard game that shall not be named, the game that is to Harry Potter what Arkham games are to Batman, have to do with VTubers? Surprisingly, quite a bit. As well, almost all creators at the time played the game, realizing it was a very, very easy way to get huge views. The Harassment Squad really set their sights on VTubers in particular, because VTubers are women and women are expected to fall in line. What made this really heinous? Of all those targeted by social media, none were so much as the VTuber I am a big fan of. At that time, I was a HoloLive enjoyer with a casual love of VTubers, but there were two other VTubers I really liked. Pipkin Pippa, the mega idol, and the friendly kettle, Pikami. Pikami Amano was a VTuber with Bombs Project, sort of between indie and small company. She's Japanese, but would also speak English during streams, and she may just be the sweetest, friendliest content creator you'll ever find. A bundle of laughter and energy, and like most people who do not spend their time looking for things to be irrationally angry about, she found out, at about the same time I found out, that there was a big controversy behind the Harry Potter series. And this probably sounds wild. After all, everyone surely knows all of the people that the Woke Hit Squad has tried to threaten into silence. Well, turns out, no. Terminally online Twitter freaks are not representative of everyone in society. But that did not stop the lynch mob from attacking her like a swarm, and when they were done, they got their little success. Pikami stopped streaming for quite some time. For fans, and for VTuber fans in general, this was a heartbreaking moment. To see someone who never would hurt a fly, who only ever brought people's spirits up, get so suddenly, violently attacked by the most insane people on the internet, people who still feel zero remorse and try to excuse their behavior, it brought a lot of the audience together and made them very, very aware that their favorite VTubers, no matter how drama-free, non-political, and non-edgy they are, could still be viciously set upon by the, as Silvervale puts it, Twitter freaks. Freaks who, let's remember the context, threatened to kill, abuse, kidnap, dox, and as a group harassed for weeks several girls whose crime was this: saying they planned to play a video game. Interestingly though, several HoloLive VTubers also played the same game and got far less drama despite being far better known. It's almost like the woke cry bullies who constantly attack people always go after the most vulnerable. This was another pivotal point in changing VTubing, and Pikami would vanish for a while. However, there is a happy ending. She did return much later as Henya the Genius, the sweet, innocent kettle finding another home where hopefully she would never be hurt again. VShojo. Uh-oh. Ironmouse. Let's get to it. Ironmouse is our third setup VTuber. Not only one of the best known VTuber streamers, she may be the biggest female streamer in the world, competing against top flesh sack tubers in major award shows, and she has an immune system deficiency. For her, VTubing was a way to make friends, do something she enjoys despite her frequent illness, and even use her reach to bring in millions in funding for organizations dedicated to her illness. She is also, you guessed it, the face of a little VTubing corporation named VShojo. Why bring this up? because VShojo is a company that had a lot of goodwill. It filled up with very well-liked VTubers, and it became a home for many VTubers and their audiences, many of which had already been burned elsewhere, and they were feeling vulnerable. It became a place that many considered home, like one of the good ones. And it was a VShojo that deleted itself in a single day. And this needs to be clarified. Kurosanji is doing the Ubisoft route, slowly declining into obscurity and reputational elimination after protecting sex pests, open bigots, and covering up the mass harassment of their staff, which led to attempts. It's like a mirror, but it does still exist. If VShojo was worth $1 billion a few days ago, it's worth nothing now, as in zero. What caused this colossal fall from grace? Well, VShojo allegedly pocketed $500,000 in charity money that Ironmouse raised, and apparently has been withholding funds owed to almost all of their idols, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially each. When this broke, basically all their talents immediately left. And this is not one of those workplaces where you can just replace the office drones. They have nobody making the product, entertainment, and their reputation is so bad that nobody is ever going to want to join them again. Hey, join us. We will not pay you. It's kind of a hard hiring pitch. Now, did VShojo pocket this money? Possibly, possibly not. There's a chance it was going to paying debts and staff, as VShojo is very likely to file for bankruptcy due to mismanagement. This might have been desperation leading to a crisis that just snowballed out of control, and the theft of money owed to talents was possibly spent on financial obligations. But we're not going to find out the whole story until after a lengthy investigation. Generally, in a bankruptcy, you can drop most of your debts, and people who are owed generally get paid out from what you have left in a sort of an order. An order that often goes something like banks, creditors, obligations by law, such as salaried employees in certain countries, and then very, very far down you may have the shareholders and the less protected contractors. And sadly, it's likely these VTubers are very, very low on the list, which means they might get nothing at all. Add to this charity fraud, likely accounting fraud as they hid the dire situation of VShojo from everyone else while making promises they could never possibly fulfill, scummy contracts that guilted the idols into earning less from their sponsors, merch, and streaming than they deserve, and we have a situation where basically every angle has this company going down fast. Nobody really likes charity fraud. Governments definitely don't, but neither does the audience. We kind of saw this play out with the Completionist just a while ago. And while VShojo took from a charity that was linked to their top VTuber's personal health, the Completionist took from a charity that was linked to his own dead mother. Just remember, monsters are real, and they walk amongst us. So how does this mix of scandals, mistreatment of talents, imploding corporations, potential criminal activity, and some of the most lost faith in humanity moments put us in a situation where we should be positive, saying this might be the best thing to happen for VTubing? Am I being a total asshole to say this? Yes, always. But that doesn't mean I'm wrong. It seems counterintuitive, but gaming is showing basically the same thing. The realization that you can do this without a corporation. The dawn of indie success. The VTubers who make up VShojo can stay friends, they can collab, they can keep being successful going forward as indies without the corporation. These companies need them, not the other way around. And this is not to say we're going to see a crash of every company, that we're going to see the fall of HoloLive or Face Connect anytime soon, or even that it's a bad thing that these companies exist. Just as a VTuber talent provides value for the corporation, if the company is able to provide opportunities, concerts, merch, and the limelight, you can have a situation where both sides are providing something of value for the other. This is the basis of every contract. VShojo's problem was they were complete leeches that weren't even handing over the pay that the talents had earned. VShojo seemed to think they could make contracts and deals based off friendship and butterflies. If you're in a company, that contract needs to be set in stone. Metaphor is paper and ink. If something is not covered, never think that executives or the corporation is going to do anything but screw you when the time comes. HoloLive is what brought me into VTubing and made me fans of many other talents. But if Saba doesn't feel like she gains value from the company, we shouldn't feel betrayed if she goes indie. At the same time, if Calliope Mori says she likes the direction of the company because it offers her more chances to do live concerts and perform on the big stage, that's also great for her, because it gives her something she wants that might be difficult or impossible to do solo. There can be a scenario where companies provide value, though it is great that indies are thrive too, able to find success using the means of production themselves. So while HoloLive at this moment is the last one standing of the big three, here's hoping they are aware of some of the cracks that an exodus of major talents has shown. Friction can wear down the company over time. HoloLive is a company in flux. They saw the loss of Achan, perhaps the most talented manager in the industry. They opened a major management branch in California, where humor goes to be burnt at a stake. And they went public, opening them to outside control. Soon after, talent started to show dissatisfaction. And you do not want the biggest celebrities in the industry deciding to leave due to corporate direction. Entertainment mixes with public shareholders like oil and water. Shareholders chase trends, and they expect entertainment corporations to behave like any other corporation. The ship captain, the CEO, says raise sails, and the disposable employees follow command or they get thrown overboard. Problem is, that doesn't really work for entertainers whose own creativity and motivation creates a unique flair that their audience latches onto. And this is reinforced over and over and over with how many gaming studios have completely shed their original staff and vision in the last decade, and with it, the ability to make satisfying video games. Audiences don't play games or watch VTubers for the company. Case in point, the audience of VShojo VTubers are going to 100% follow the talent. If you put a bunch of new hires behind the anime models at VShojo, that audience has zero company loyalty. HoloLive cannot just get a new Gargura. And it seems strange that people with enough business sense to make these corporations big in the first place suddenly seem to have zero understanding of parasocialism. Let's be positive though. Creator control will lead to more creativity, more audiences reached. This is the biggest opportunity for indies to dominate, and maybe this will wake up the top dogs and get them to realize their position as industry leaders is not set in stone. They need to fight tooth and nail to keep it. But as we look to the future of an indie-led industry, there's still some pitfalls that can really derail their potential. Here's a bit of advice for both artists and VTubers, since we've seen both sides getting screwed lately. Do not accept being yanked around. If someone is not paying you for work done as either artist, model rigger, or VTuber, don't let that sit. People think, well, if I asked them to pay, I might lose a business opportunity. Girl, the money is half of that business. If they're being shifty about it, it's because they have something to hide. That is a red flag right there. If they're going half a year without paying you, they intend not to pay you at all. On the other hand, if you have paid for something, say you're a VTuber and you paid the artist for some art, also don't accept them pushing back the deadline, not providing the work they promised, and ghosting you. When people do not pay or get paid, it starts to unravel trust, and the entire industry suffers. Just think about how bad it's going to be if customers all start to get a paid, didn't get my art for months, didn't get a refund interaction. They're going to start to be more and more wary about commissions, and that's going to be a really, really bad thing for everyone in art. If people who want to pay you for art get to the point where they have so little trust, they would rather just go to AI for the ease of access. Gaben of Steam always says that piracy is a service issue. Well, AI is a service issue too. It'd be a real shame if these entertainment areas built the same level of distrust as Hollywood has. Because nobody supports the SAG-AFTRA strikes. Nobody cares at the high level of layoffs in AAA games or the games media. If anything, people are generally happy about it. But for VShojo, the talents have so much trust with their audience that the audience will follow them. That's something to keep in mind, because while the collapse of so many entertainment giants is a good thing for indies and small teams, creating massive gaps for market penetration that we've already seen be filled, there's still always going to be a bit of fragility. Speaking of VTubers, if you're not being paid, or you find artists are not being paid, and you don't want to cause trouble by calling it out, chances are pretty good others are getting screwed over too. And the people doing the scamming are relying on you staying silent in order to keep their fraud going strong. If they're paying you late or not at all, or causing you some other sort of trouble, they're definitely doing it to your peers too. Same with a contract as an artist. If they're late with your commission, they're doing the same with others. This is the same message we're giving about corporations that are destroying games in the Stop Killing Games movement, and credit card cartels that are censoring games. What you let them get away with, they will get away with. Trust and goodwill are, if anything, more important for an indie environment to thrive. Bad actors have to be called out. Scams and fraud has to be purged. Because if a massive corporation can go from top of the world to broke with zero chance to recover in a day, imagine what can happen if bad apple indies are allowed to go wild. VShojo had the ultimate money hack. Very talented VTubers came to them, most of them already famous and popular, and VShojo pocketed charity funds, merch fees, sponsorships, and so on for years, and still managed to go broke. VShojo became one of the biggest VTuber corporations with a top reputation. They took a very enviable situation, got even greedier, and in the end, they torched it all to the ground. Now, they have no reputation, their workplace is unsafe, they are likely in legal trouble around stealing salaries and charity funds, and no VTuber talent is ever going to want to work with them. They just lost a roster of some of the best known VTubers in the world. There's just no path to redemption here. And it sucks for fans, of course. But keep supporting the creators, and you may find they're even better without the corporate albatross around their necks. The potential for VTuber indies has never been better. So don't doom and gloom over this. Things are looking good. For more positivity on the future of games and anime, like, comment, and subscribe. And I apologize for absolutely nothing.